Today, we're diving into the dramatic story of our global trading system. We're going to talk about how it was built, how it completely shattered once before, and why it might just be in danger of doing it all over again. It's a wild story of tariffs, retaliations, and a system that's a lot more fragile than we think. We live in this incredibly connected world. You can order something from the other side of the planet and have it on your doorstep in a few days. That flow of goods and services feels so normal, so permanent, that it's really easy to just take it for granted. But imagine for a second, what if that whole complex machine just seized up? What if it all just broke down?
Well, here's the thing. It's not just some scary what if. It actually happened. And the whole story of that epic collapse starts with the long and kind of crazy history of America's trade policy.
So let's jump on what you could call America's tariff roller coaster. For more than 100 years, U.S. policy was constantly swinging back and forth between two big ideas. At first, tariffs were simple. They were just a way to raise money for the government. But pretty soon, this other idea, protectionism, this need to shield our own industries, really took hold. And look at these swings. You had the Tariff of Abominations in 1828 hitting 45%. Then, by 1897, rates were up to 46% to fight off so-called cheap foreign labor. Then whoosh, a quick dip down in 1913, only to swing right back up to 38% in 1922. It was this constant policy whiplash, and it was setting the stage for an absolute disaster. And that disaster showed up right alongside the Great Depression. The economy was in a total freefall, and the U.S. made this fateful choice. It adopted what's called a beggar thy neighbor policy. Basically, trying to fix your own problems by shoving the cost onto everyone else.
So, in 1930, Congress passed something called the Smoot-Hawley Act. It jacked up the average tariff on imports to a mind-boggling 53%. Just think about that. At the exact moment the world needed to work together, the U.S. decided to build the highest protectionist wall in its history.
Now, what's wild is that a lot of people could see this was a terrible idea. I mean, Henry Ford himself went to President Hoover, begging him to veto the bill, calling it economic stupidity. And he wasn't the only one. Over 1,000 economists signed a petition saying the exact same thing. But Hoover signed it anyway. The reaction from the rest of the world was fast, and it was brutal. 25 of America's trading partners immediately hit back. Spain slapped taxes on U.S. grapes, Switzerland organized boycotts, Italy went after American cars, and Canada, America's biggest trading partner, straight up tripled its own tariffs. The global trade war was on. And the result was a catastrophe. You can almost picture it like a web just collapsing in on itself. Month by month, global trade just spiraled inward. In just 2 years, U.S. exports plummeted by almost 2/3. The entire international system just stopped working. So, coming out of the wreckage of the Depression and then World War II, world leaders had this huge realization: we can never let that happen again. They knew they had to build an entirely new system, one based on cooperation instead of constant conflict. The first really big step came in 1934. The U.S. passed the Reciprocal Trade Agreements Act. And what this did was really clever. It took the power to set tariffs away from Congress, where politicians are often thinking about local interests, and gave it to the president, who could think about the bigger national picture. That one change completely shifted the momentum towards freer trade. The act also brought in a truly game-changing idea: the most favored nation principle. The concept is actually really simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It just means that if you cut a special deal with one country, you have to offer that exact same deal to all of your other trading partners. Basically, no more playing favorites. This one rule laid the groundwork for a truly global system. Then, in 1947, all these ideas came together in what was called the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, or GATT. Think of it as the new rule book for the global economy, designed specifically to prevent another 1930-style meltdown. Rule 1, no discrimination. Rule 2, work towards freer trade. Rule 3, predictability. Countries had to promise not to suddenly jack up their tariffs. And Rule 4, transparency. All the rules had to be out in the open for everyone to see. Now, for a few decades, GATT worked pretty well as just a set of rules and a forum for negotiations. But by the 1990s, it was becoming clear the world needed something more. It didn't just need a rule book, It needed a referee.
And so, in 1995, GATT officially became the World Trade Organization, or WTO. And here's the crucial difference. GATT was like a club with a rulebook, but no real way to enforce those rules. The WTO, on the other hand, was a real organization with real power to settle disputes. It had teeth. So this is the big question, right? What happens when one country thinks another one is cheating? How does the referee actually make a call?
Well, the WTO has a whole formal process for this. First, the countries have to try and talk it out themselves. If that doesn't work, the case goes to an independent panel that issues a ruling. Now, if the losing country still doesn't follow the rules, the WTO can actually authorize the winner to retaliate with tariffs of their own. It's a system designed to replace all-out trade wars with a legal process.
And believe me, this system has real power. Just look at these cases. The WTO has authorized billions of dollars in retaliation. And check out who's been on the losing end here. The European Union, and yes, even the United States. The whole point is that the rules are supposed to apply to everyone, no matter how big or powerful they are. For decades, this whole rules-based system helped create a huge expansion of global prosperity. But today, well, today that very system is under more strain than it has been in a very, very long time.
So what's going wrong? Well, for starters, the last big round of global trade talks just collapsed. Big players like the US are getting frustrated, arguing the whole system steps on their national sovereignty. Then, in a really critical blow, the US basically shut down the WTO's highest court by blocking new judges, which means it can't even make final rulings anymore. And instead of these big global deals, we're seeing a messy spaghetti bowl of smaller regional agreements. The foundation is cracking. Which brings us right back to where we started, with a really unsettling question. The system that was built from the ashes of the 1930s was designed for one primary reason: to prevent another global trade war. So now that the system itself is breaking down, are we about to repeat the same mistakes all over again? That's definitely something to think about.